Hello, everyone. My name is Yene Damtu, and I am so excited for today. This is the first ever Brown Beauty Summit, and the conversation series that we have set up for you today is called The Art of a Beautypreneur. We have 4 panel conversations with some industry legends, and I'm so excited for us to get started. I want to thank everyone for registering. I want to thank all of our panelists for coming together, donating your time, not just to me, but to our community of beauty professionals. This event has taught me how much this space needs to be created. Just to give you a quick rundown, I put this whole entire thing together in less than 10 days. And I really just found to people in the community was like, hey, I'm doing this event. I would love for you to be a part of it. And everyone said yes. So thank you to everyone who has agreed to be a part of this. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to my panelists. Thank you to everyone that is watching from wherever you are. I hope that you are being safe and being well. I'm going to get started immediately. We're going to dive right in. I'm a person that loves to practice respecting people's times. And so I want to get started. I'm going to bring in our moderator for this first conversation, The Art of Flexibility. And the conversation is going to be fun and relaxing. We have an amazing panel put together for you of beauty experts who know each other from near and far, and who've worked together and worked in many different parts of this industry that are going to have an open, real, candid conversation. So with all that being said, I hope that you guys are ready for an amazing conversation. I hope you guys are ready to be inspired. I hope that you guys are ready to have some of the industry legends just kind of pour into you and pour into me as well. I think that we're all extremely excited. And at the end, we'll do a question and answer series. So if you have questions, just drop them into the comments and we will answer them at the end. But to start this show off, I'm going to bring in our moderator, Tai.
Hi, Yene. Hi, everyone. I'm so super excited to be here with you. Thank you so much, Yene, for your vision, for having us. I'm Tai Beauchamp, your moderator for this conversation about the art of flexibility. And who knew entering the beauty industry that it was just more than hair and makeup and that you would have to be flexible as the industry has evolved. I'm super excited for this conversation. With industry legends and also peers and counterparts and co-conspirators, as I like to call them. I've had the pleasure of working with everyone. I think with the exception of Larry is the only person that I've never worked with, but we know each other well from being in the industry at the same time. So I'm going to invite everyone in and allow them to introduce themselves. We have Tippi Shorter rank. Hi, fellow Capricorn.
Hi, love.
We have Merrell Hollis. Hello, my love. And we also have the dynamic AJ Crimson.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Oh my God, it's so good to see all of you. And there's Larry. What's up, Larry?
Hey, everybody. Hey, guys.
Oh my, hi. It's so exciting. My gosh, it feels like, I don't know, what year are we in right now? We're in 2020, but It feels like a flashback to some days of yesteryear.
Yeah.
Why don't I just start by having you all introduce yourself and just share a little bit about your journey, who you are, and also how you got started. And before I allow all of you to do that, just to give the audience some context, I'm Tai Beauchamp. I started my career as a beauty editor. I worked on the launch of the Oprah magazine, was beauty director at 17 magazine, worked on the prototypes of what became Suede magazine. Before it was Suede, was also the editor-in-chief of Vixen magazine. So that was the beginning of my beauty career. Today, I'm the wellness and wholeness company, CBD company, focused to uplifting and inspiring women of color around plant-based wellness and wholeness. Tippi, why don't you go next, since you're the only other lady in this panel?
I know, ladies. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Tippi Shorter rank, and in a nutshell, I am a hairstylist. But to dig a little deeper, I was a salon owner in New York City for 5 years, about 20 years ago. Sold my salon to travel the world for about 15 years with celebrities like Rihanna, Alicia Keys, and Jennifer Hudson. I chose to do a pivot and move into servicing my beauty community and became an educator. And I'm currently the global artistic director with Mazzani.
Yes.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tippi. Merrell.
Hey, how are y'all? My name
How are
is
you?
Merrell Hollis. I am also, in a nutshell, a makeup artist and beauty expert and co-founder of Lavanya Skincare. And currently the makeup artist for the Wendy Williams show. And yeah.
How did you get your start?
Oh, how did I get my start? I got my start by sneaking on a video set in like 1994 on a 112 video set and pretended to be the makeup artist at age 17.
No.
And Maurice, who was my mentor, later became my mentor, found out. And from then on, I apprenticed under him, and 112 became my first group. And then from then on, Bad Boy, working with Puff, and all the Bad Boy artists, all the videos, and yeah, and then to Wendy Williams.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Tippi, how did you get your start? What was the very beginning for you?
You know what? I love telling this story because I grew up in Southern California, and like the arts were in my spirit, and I was a part of singing groups. No, I do not sing. I was just in the group.
So what did you do in the group? If you didn't sing?
I was a background singer, but I excelled at making sure that our hair and our makeup was together. And so, yeah. And so one of my girlfriends right out of high school was like, hey, Tippi, I know that you love doing hair and makeup. I'm going to be taking some time off. And my boss, I need to fill my position. And so I need to find someone to assist my boss. And I was like, all right, great. So I went to beauty school day, night, weekends, whenever I could to get my fast track my license. And I got my license, and that's really how I got into being in the beauty industry, is because my friend needed someone to fill her job while she was taking time off to have a baby.
Wow, talk about God and getting that license too.
Yeah.
AJ, tell us about you and tell us how you got your start.
For sure. AJ Crimson, celebrity makeup artist and founder of AJ Crimson Beauty. I've been in the beauty business for over 16 years now. I started in radio. I moved into artist development, and that trickled its way into makeup. I've worked on the movie 8 Mile, and that was really like my start, my jump from Detroit to Los Angeles, and it just opened the doors for me to be doing everything that I'm doing now. So it's super exciting, like building a brand. This is my second one. My first was Kissable Couture, which I launched in 2007, and that was the gateway to AJ Crimson Beauty that you know today.
Which I'm wearing, by the way.
Yes, I love that.
I remember Crimson Couture as well.
No Kissable Couture, yeah, it was good, right?
I remember that. I remember that.
Boss.
I love that girl.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Larry Sims.
Yes. Hey, everybody.
Tell us who you are and how you got your start.
So I am Larry Sims. I am a celeb hairstylist as well. I've worked with some of the likes of Gabrielle Union, Zendaya, Sanaa Lathan. The list kind of goes on in terms of Black actresses specifically. Right. The girls. Girls. And yeah, I've done reality TV. I have a hat line. I have some products coming out this year that I'm really excited about. I got my first start by assisting Ken Pavis, actually. For people that don't know who Ken is a great friend of mine and hairstylist that works with Victoria Beckham, J-Lo, and a bunch of other people. I was assisting him, and he sent me off to work with Victoria. The Bob happened, and then that began my journey.
Wow, amazing. Well, what's so interesting is even in your intro, Larry, to just understand like how you pivoted and how you were flexible and nimble, like with the hat line and what have you. I want to start by just asking the question, recognizing that most of you, Merrell said he started in 1994. Tippi, I know, started in the 90s as well, as is Larry, and AJ, the early 2000s, right? The early 2000s?
Like 2004, I want to say.
Yeah, exactly. So we're thinking over the course of the last 15 to 20 years, how has the industry of beauty changed? Like, what's your take and your thought on the change and the evolution of the industry?
Who wants to start there?
For me, I've seen it. I feel like I've seen it go from where we needed portfolios. It was me fighting to be an assistant, right? And then, making your way to be that assistant, building your book, doing test shoots, trying to get recognized, getting that agent, getting that first client, to now it's just kind of a big free for all, which is really interesting. Like, I think anybody, it's anybody's game. If you have enough followers, you can flood a girl's timeline, then you are kind of up for it. But then also with that, the money has absolutely changed.
Yeah.
So people that I used to assist, they were making 5,000, 6,000 and up, for a day. Now I think some of these girls and guys are only making about 500 to 250, really, 250 and less, like starting. So that's one of the biggest changes I've seen.
Yeah. And in that change for you, AJ, do you feel that artistry is as celebrated as it once was, or do you feel like less so?
I think that I think this body of people that are on the call right now, I think the time that we came into beauty, like we were able, there was a sense of mysterium behind it, where that was also very glamorous, because you didn't really see all that was going on to get to this place that we were enjoying. And now the floodgates are open, that everybody can see everything. They want a piece of that. And now I think with also beauty influencers kind of living their own celebrity and living their own reality just as themselves within the beauty space, it's more attractive. So people are chasing this microwavable career, not knowing that it's taken, a lot of us, 10, 20, 15, 25 years to enjoy the space that we're in now.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to add to that too. I was actually just speaking to a school yesterday just about that. And I was like, I started here. I did this. 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 And then eventually I got here. And there's, today I find that people want to go from here to here, right? Without doing all this stuff in the middle, which, I'm a firm believer, if you do the work, what's for you is for you, right? But to AJ's point, there was a really great deal of mystery behind the work when we were like, it was like, who did that? You never knew who was doing it. I mean, I remember being on set and breaking out cameras and taking pictures of your clients or taking selfies. Like, the selfies weren't even a thing, but taking pictures. Like, you didn't do it because you were there. You were experiencing it. Yeah. You were living it. You were doing the work. So you didn't need the photo, right? Because you had the call sheet for the next day. Yeah. And I think what ended up happening, like, I remember, people are like, you need to start taking pictures with your clients. I'm like, I don't even know how to ask that. Like,
exactly.
I've been with her for 15 years, and now I'm gonna be like, you take a picture with me. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
And now they don't have the picture. If you don't take the picture, if you don't take the picture, the girls are like, you don't love your work? Like, what's happening? You know what I mean? So they want the picture just as much
right now. Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Different times for sure. Merrell?
Well, for me, I would say that some of I don't want to say prestige, because I don't want to make it seem like we're so much better because of, our long legacy of work and things of that nature. But I think some of the luster has left, which is i.e. why the rates have dropped, because the value of what we do has been watered down, because there's so many people that want to be on top and they want to be a celebrity makeup artist without being the makeup artist first. They don't want to learn what you need to do to get where you need to go. All those years of experience teaches you set etiquette, bill management, client, celebrity, how you handle your celebrity, and creates a long lasting career. When you microwave something, as AJ said, it's over quick unless you have the tools to maintain it. And those tools come with education and experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to touch on that in a minute, because I want to come back to some of understanding, like, the skill sets of what you develop, having been someone that started in this industry long before, a long time ago, versus like if you're coming in now and you can just, how to do makeup, but you don't know those other things. But Larry, I would love to hear from you. Like, what was it like when you started versus, the thought of where we are right now with the industry?
Absolutely. So I started off in the entertainment industry as a dancer and choreographer. So I had the opportunity to work with glam people, when the rates were, up higher and it was so glamorized and I was so enamored by so many artists that have really paved the way for me. So I didn't get into it professionally until mid 2000s. So this is definitely a second career for me. And what I've noticed between like the tail end of when I was coming in, which is to me when the greats had paved the way up until now, there's not a lot of integrity that I see in the industry. I know that we all get to a certain level and we all say that we support each other, but I don't know if anybody of our stature and our generation would do what Ken Davis did for me, which is hand me over a client and give me an opportunity to flourish. And then another thing that I've experienced on several different occasions is, to everybody's point, people want to get there immediately. I have one client who is working with a former client who's working with a hairstylist now, who basically baited her, and he said, "I'll work for you for free," which levels down the integrity of our rates. And who doesn't want to break? I mean, you're lucky if you have somebody like a Gabrielle Union in my life who, is super loyal to me, but a lot of people are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they get caught up by the hype of having somebody to worship them and sacrifice our hard work and rate. So the integrity has shifted.
It's so interesting. So I think the conversation about integrity, what were if you had to say that there were 3 to 5 skills and talents or abilities that you had to have during that time when you entered the industry, what would they be?
Oh, easy. Color matching, skin matching, all skin shades. Knowing how to work with all mediums, knowing how to work on a hostile set, knowing how to work on a quiet set, knowing when to stay quiet, knowing when not to eat on set, knowing to respect the hairstylist and the stylist and the nail tech, giving everyone space. It's not your show.
It's not your show.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to let an assistant go because she's like, shouldn't the stylist be, or shouldn't I'm like, hold on. She earned that job. She's doing what is being asked of her, and I need you to do what's being asked of you, which is hand me them clips. Right?
Yeah.
So I believe that's in all seriousness, but you're absolutely right. As a hairstylist, knowing all texture types, I can't tell you how many. I mean, I did New York Fashion Week every season for 10 straight years. And I can't tell you how many times I had stylists that was like, hey, can you grab that model? Oh, I don't really know how to work on her texture. And I'm just like, well, all right. So which made me know that I really needed to be super clear on who people were asking me, to be a part of my team. Because a lot of the times I wasn't able to create my teams. I was there on behalf of brands. So they were, flooding my teams with people, and they just were grossly unqualified in terms of having the skill set of working with every texture. So that was a huge thing. And then coming fully unprepared, like, oh, I brought a blow dryer and a brush. Okay, but where's the rest of your equipment and tools? Yeah. Like, oh, well, I thought we were only doing this. No, you're a hairstylist. You need to bring everything including the thing, because you don't know what we're going to do. Yeah. So, yeah, just being grossly unprepared.
I think for me, I would say humility. I think you need to bring a level of humility to the table because, like Merrell said, it's not your show. And this is if you're assisting. And then, actually, in anything that you're doing, we're there to basically make the artist feel their absolute best. So it's for us to serve in that moment. Like, we're not there to be the star. The other thing that I would say is reliability. I can't count on one hand, I can count on more than one hand, how many times I've heard of stories where people now are like, oh, this girl called, so the other girl that they were already booked for is just basically left high and dry because the other girl is bigger, or the money was better on this job. Like, if you make a commitment, you have to honor the commitment. If that $200 was good enough for you the day that you said yes, if you can't figure out another way to finagle around it and do that girl and go somewhere else to get the bigger money, then the girl who booked you first is the client that you need to be with.
Right.
Oh, you just gave a whole amen, hallelujah sermon.
Right.
Reverend Dr. AJ, because I will tell you, even at this juncture in my life, I've had that happen with artists that I work with, like that do me. And these are long-standing people that I've worked with. I've had it happen a couple times, and I'm like, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
It's just like, if you would, if my money wasn't good enough for you in that moment, then it won't be good enough for you when it becomes higher or becomes the thing that you want, or when that artist becomes the artist that everybody's talking about. You know, you have to be the same across the board. Like, she doesn't get one less eyelash because, you know, she paid me $1 less. Like, just she gets the same, you know, 5-star treatment and white glove service that I would give to the girl that's paying me, you know, top dollar. Like, it has to be the same because that's your name on the brand.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Larry, do you have anything to add?
Sure. I mean, just to piggyback off of what AJ said, you know, I think we all have done jobs that have been $0 up until, great rates, and you show up for work regardless. Yeah. No matter if it's a favor, no matter if it's an editorial rate, you show up for work. I over prepare, and I make sure that I make people feel like I'm over prepared. I come with references. I come with, like Tippi said, textures and colors and options and accessories. You have to make sure people know that you care about who they are and what they're going to look like and feel like when they hit that carpet or whatever it is. People always remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
You know what I love about this conversation? I mean, the overall theme is the art of flexibility. What all of you have articulated is that coming into this space as artists, as creatives, you have to be flexible from the get. Like the beginning of it is recognizing that you're coming in to serve. And so even in that mindset, there has to be flexibility in being nimble. Like, you might think that you're coming on set to do a high ponytail, but if direction changes, you have to be flexible and be willing to do that. If you're coming on set and thinking that you're giving a whole bronze moment, but it turns into a tropical, ethereal or whatever, you have to be flexible in that. Let me ask you, tell me a quick story about a time that you had to exercise the most flexibility either on a job or in an experience within your career. Like, if there was a time where you were just like, I was not imagining this, but it really caused you to flex some muscles and be really flexible.
I was doing for a season, I was doing all of the makeovers on The Real. And I literally thought I had my makeup kit in my car because I've been working that week and I thought it was there. By the time I got to the studio and I went to pull everything out of the trunk, I realized I didn't have anything. I didn't have my kit at all. I barely had brushes. Luckily enough, I had my AJ Crimson artist kits, which I just had extra just for whatever reason. And I had those, and I literally had to go inside and just try to piece from things that I had in my car and do an entire makeover on this girl without anybody knowing that I didn't have this kit to do it. Like, so I'm listening to what they're wanting, how they want to, transform her, manipulating my products. I think that now we're working in everybody with a lot of makeup artists today, and Merrell, you'll probably have seen this and agree, they're paint by numbers. So if you don't have a specific item or a specific, type of product, then you feel like you can't get it done. And in that moment, I was using lip gloss as eyeshadow. I was using matte liquid lips as eyeliner. And I had to make it work, and I did. I think the only thing I had to go to Melanie Mills to get was a pair of lashes, but we figured it out. And
amazing.
After the show.
That's real artistry, though, and I think you touch on something that's so important that you all mentioned earlier, including Tippi, is like, you have to be prepared no matter what to and work the tools that you have or you're given in that circumstance. I mean, that's like one of those extremes, but because and have the skill set to be able to do makeup on anyone, you use what you have and make it work.
To be able to do that. Like, I would have freaked out. I probably would have freaked out earlier on if I couldn't problem solve. And I think that's what so much of our situations are. It's about problem solving. from doing a red carpet and like you said, you walk in thinking one way, or even coming in with your own references or own ideas of what you want to do, and then the girl is like, no, that's not what I want to do. I really want to do this, and you have to try to work with what she wants and give her what she needs all in the same time, and make sure everybody's happy.
I'm gonna piggyback on what you're saying, and also Tai, like flexibility leads to you being a necessity, and necessity creates value for yourself. Yeah. So I remember earlier on with the show, we were doing satellite media tours, and of course I packed my kit, I checked my kit, did not have a kit, and I was like, oh my God, and we had all this stuff early in the morning, and I had to find a 24-hour Walmart to find all this stuff. And if I didn't know or have experience with different mediums and different makeups and knowing all the different types of brands, I wouldn't know how to give her the look that, she's wanting, So I think that was part of the flexibility.
That's such a true testament though of artistry. And I implore young artists and creators and people in the industry that are viewing right now, if people who say that they have their signature, right? You can't always own a room or lead knowing that you have your signature, because your signature may not be the thing that someone wants. And so knowing how to use different products, knowing how actually to even create your own products, if there is nothing there, and being able to do it anywhere is so important. So important. Tippi, do you have a memory of a time that you were just like maximum flexibility? What's happening here?
Yeah, I distinctly remember going to Italy for the very first time, and I was with Alicia Keys, and we landed. She was doing a performance later in that day. My luggage, I always carry 2 bags. One, well, I've changed it, but typically one is my kit and one is my personal clothing. And my kit didn't show up, and so I was like, I got to go to the stores. Obviously, I don't know the language, so I'm not really sure what I'm reading. Obviously, being able to test products and feel, but it was siesta, so the stores were closed. The beauty stores were closed because they were on siesta. So I had to go to the grocery store, and I had to buy jam, jelly, oil, butter. I had to buy things that I knew that I could work in like an emollient type of way to like slick hair into a ponytail. Or, I had to make it work with like grocery store items, not even really knowing what they were essentially. So yeah, I had to be incredibly flexible.
And everything was probably written in Italian. You're like, what is this? What is this?
So good.
Will this work?
I'll tell you though, so from that point moving forward, I always keep an emergency product kit in my personal luggage, and then keep my, because that taught me super quick, like, okay, that's what I do. I gotta change.
Right.
Larry, a super flexible moment. And I mean, this could be about your kit, this could be about a client, it can be about a business proposition or an experience that you had an ultimate moment of flexibility.
Sure. I mean, and it's happened in the latter part of my career, but I've had to be flexible with time. I am so a stickler about, if there's a job that's on a schedule and I know that I'm going to be working for a certain amount of hours, I'm usually planning, if it's a dinner or a social event or something, that's my personal time. I've had to learn to be flexible with that. There was one time recently where I was working with a client and we were on a photo shoot, but we had a music video to do the next day. And she asked me to come to the fitting and almost like made it mandatory for me to come to the fitting. Never asked me if I had anything else to do that evening. Didn't care about if I had anything else to do that evening. But to make her comfortable, it was like I almost needed to show up. So, as much as I respect my own time and my own schedule, I understand also that I have to be flexible with a drop of a dime, from flights changing to dates changing to jobs canceling when you're pulling up. You have to have that level of flexibility. And like to Merrell's point, it just brings value to your brand and what you're contributing to your clients.
What's so interesting about that statement, it makes me think even about right now, where I am, I have been intentional about saying yes to everything, and being flexible, just answering the call. But it makes me also think about the importance of humility, as artists, and even at your level and with your experience. And this is really important for everyone to glean from. No matter how talented you are, no matter how in demand you are, no matter how coveted you are, no matter how celebrated you are, you have to show up with humility in everything you do in order to really be valued, to be appreciated, to be desired, and to be coveted again and again and again. So it's so interesting, because I think that, especially now living in the time of social media, it's so easy to glamorize the beauty part of it, right? And that image. But ultimately, we're all servants at the end of the day.
Yes.
No one knew. Yeah, people saw that album cover, but they didn't know I also had to paint the toenails and use my. You know, they didn't know I had to do. And I was with the wafter and the fan on the side.
Girl, that is so real. It is so real.
Professionally, I think you have to think about this business. You have to go into it thinking about this business as a business. It is a business. It's your business. This is the thing that you can absolutely retire from. This is a thing that can make you, that can take you all over the world. Like, to be honest with you, I didn't grow up dreaming about being a makeup artist. Like, it actually just kind of fell in my lap and became that one thing that I said, hey, I didn't like the way this girl was doing it. I figured I can do this if I had all the stuff, and let me go figure it out. And it's the one thing that has taken me all over the world 3 times over, and afforded me the life that I have now. Like, to even be flexible in this moment that we're living in, having all of our jobs wiped out till August. You know, like, what do? You know what I mean? If I didn't, I don't know. There's a sense of that professionalism starts when you take your business seriously, and then people take you seriously. You can't be a flake. You can't be a flake in this, and you can't just be fly by night, and it can't feel like a hobby.
I want to talk, thank you, AJ, for that. I want to talk, actually, flip the conversation over to business and understanding business. Because, I think oftentimes a lot of artists say, I'm an artist, I just want to focus on being creative. So let's talk about the skill set and the talent it takes on the business side in order to thrive on the creative side. How did you begin to understand and learn the business? And I know it may be different for each of you. Did you have an aptitude for business? Did you seek, counsel, or did you hire people to help you understand the business? Why was it so important, and what was your journey in understanding the business side of beauty?
Yeah, I'll start with that one. I had great mentors that taught me the business. Like, I think my situation is a little bit more, it's a little unique because I was able to be around the Christopher Maldonados, who, God bless him, was alive, that took me under his wing as a dancer and said, look, Larry, this is how it works. This is what you're going to have to go through. As a matter of fact, he offered to put me through cosmetology school and have me move in with him so that I didn't have any bills to pay, so that I could get through cosmetology school with flying colors. So I think mentorship is huge in terms of business, especially for the younger kids that are coming in underneath us. It's super important. So that definitely helped me out a lot. And another thing that helped me out was, it was trial and error for me. I didn't know what a manager could do. I didn't know the difference between a manager and an agent. I didn't know what a publicist's job really was. So when I got to the point where, I was being offered sponsorship deals, all of...
Oh, no.
No, Larry.
Excuse me. Phone
there
rang,
you
sorry.
Thank you.
You're back.
All of these different entities came into place.
All right. Hey, Larry.
Yeah, I think he's out.
I'll jump in. I can
please, by all means.
Until he comes back. For me, I got it. So I started with an agent. I didn't know what an agent was, and so I started with an agent. Hey, Larry, you back? I'm sorry. I was just jumping until you got back. So go ahead, friend. Maybe
Larry.
he's frozen.
Larry.
All right. Okay.
Continue. Thank you, Tippi.
Okay. So, so I started with an agent, and but it was a new agency, and so she didn't give me the full scope of what the business was. So I didn't know that I could do a job and would have to wait 30
to get paid 60.
days.
Yeah, 120 days. Yeah.
120.
To get paid. So I'm thinking I'm doing this job and this check is amazing and I'm about to, like my rent's gonna be paid for like several months. Like, no, because I don't know when I'm gonna, and you just don't know when you're gonna get the check. So that was something that I like, that was like a super hard lesson that I had to learn, which as a hairstylist, which was always good for me to make sure that I kept my foot in the salon. At the beginning until I was like full-time freelance. There was a time that when I just eventually ended up selling my salon and becoming full-time because I had jobs daily that every day there was like something coming in from like 3 months prior, right? So that was something. But to Larry's point, understanding what a publicist did, again, like him, I've had sponsorship deals, I've had brand deals, I've spokesperson deals and things like that, and having an agent negotiate it for you. And then a lot of times they want to go around and circumvent the agent because they don't want to pay the agency fee. So they're trying to reach out to you directly. And this is also a really good point on your character, because if this agent has been so good to you, you don't want to, circumvent and go around and take this job because maybe they're going to offer you 10% more if you go without the agent, and so that's, talking about your relationships and how you as a person and the choices that you make. Larry, you're back. So go ahead, friend. Is he just frozen?
No, I can see him. Can we hear you, Larry?
I don't think your mic is on.
Yeah, I don't think we can hear him now. We can't hear you.
But I'm just going to be totally transparent. I'm still learning. Learning. I have zero business acumen jumping in. Even as a salon owner, I had a business partner who was the business partner and I was the creative partner. And so I knew that whatever I did, I was the creative. So I've always had mentors, I've had agents, I've had people who have guided and have helped me and steer me in the right direction, because it's really even at this point I'm still learning because everything changes.
Hopefully Larry will come back. Go ahead, Merrell.
Yeah, me, I'm going to be completely honest. I am from Columbus, Georgia. I come from very humble beginnings, and I was pretty much thrown into this, and that's nobody's fault but my own for not learning. But when I was younger, I got all these clients. I'm working with this person, and Carl Thomas album coming out. Mace is coming back. All these people, and I'm traveling, going all across the world. I didn't know anything, and I was surrounded by celebrities. So I guess I'm one too. I'm going to get facials. I'm going to do this. I'm buying every new bag. I got the best apartment. I got every single thing. And my friends used to call my house the house of refuge, because anyone that needed to get on their feet, they came to stay with me, because I always had food and I was always buying the bar out. Dumb stuff. I remember even AJ telling me a story, like when we first met, of how just stupid stuff, and I had to learn the hard way. And, you learn the hard way by, waiting on those checks, or the jobs are slowing down, or you're working so much that you forget. And then that's also when I got an agent, and that's when, Ken Barboza was amazing to me. He was like a father.
Yeah.
And he taught me a lot about the business, and he got my rates way bigger. And, that was part, and, taxes and, saving money for a rainy day, those things like that. He was amazing at that. So I definitely learned by trial and error and hunger.
I love your transparency on that, because I think the other piece about understanding and knowing the business is that it may not be innate to you. It might not be innate to, and you have to align yourself either with the right people that are going to help you on the business side of it and really understand it, and also do what you can to learn about it, because as you said, like, the industry is just evolving so very much.
Mm-hmm.
Larry, can we hear you now?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Welcome
The
back.
technical difficulties. I was getting a phone call as this was going in, and it was cutting me out.
We understand. But I think you were leaving off, and you were saying about how Chris helped you and supported you, and how that was so important and critical and vital for your success and achievement.
Yes, absolutely. So my whole point was having somebody as amazing as a Christopher Maldonado to take me under my wings definitely helped build and shape my experience. And I think that it's important for us, as much as we can, as much as our schedules allow us to be able to mentor some of these young people that are wanting to come up and really sort of educate them on how this is done and how you can create longevity with basically following these sorts of guidelines that have worked for all of us.
Yeah, I think, but that's why we have to celebrate Yanae for doing this. I think having panels like this where because we can't mentoring, I always say, and I'm an avid mentor, like, to take someone on as a mentee is a lot of work. But I think because we're in these spaces right now, is sharing our wisdom and allowing people to glean from it, whether or not they're close up or from afar. In this theme of flexibility, let's talk about the different types. Go ahead, sure. Go ahead, AJ.
So the thing for me, I interned. I started out when I was in college and I was interning for people. So I had an opportunity to intern at Big Ten Records. I started out interning there for a woman named Peggy Body, and she was managing a group called Willie Max, which I actually met Tippi on that job later later on, like within the same years of that. But it was, I think people don't know how to. I think we need to get back to the idea of what interning is and giving yourself to a project and giving your all to a project and being resourceful in 1,000 different ways. I needed to, and we were doing this, there was no Google on our phone. This was get out the phone book and figure it out and find out and bring me back some results. So for me, it was a lot of interning, which led into paid opportunities. They weren't all paid, but it was a lot of free work for a long time until and with those experiences, like Peggy taught me so much. Mark Bridges from the movie 8 Mile Heat allowed me a lot of opportunity in LA, opening doors for me to learn and do things. There was a willingness to learn. So I think that for me, I had business acumen because my parents are business owners, but it was being on the job and being open to ideas and having an idea of what it should look like or what you think it might look like, but being open to the idea that your idea may not be the end all. It may not be the end result. And I think that was what needed to happen. So many people now just think that I'm coming in and this is my idea and this is what it's supposed to be. And it's like, no, we might need to tweak that, and I think that's how you get better at business. My first agent, I was managing myself for a long time for the first couple of years, and my first agent, Crystal Thorpe. So with me, I came into the game not wanting to assist, but my first job with Desiree Diggs was $750. I was like, well, hell yeah, I'll assist. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, is that what it's about? And realizing that I didn't know everything. She asked me on my first job with her, she's like, oh, I want you to bleach these girls' eyebrows. And she said, do you know how to bleach eyebrows? And I just looked at her like, no. And I just thought like, I was like, wow, like she got about to fire me. She's like, I'm going to teach you like my friend Sam Fine taught me. And that was the most beautiful thing I could have ever gotten in that moment because I was afraid to be an assistant or be seen as an assistant. She didn't make it what I thought it was going to be. She took me by the hand, but also gave me enough room to make a mistake. And it was awesome. It was beautiful. I couldn't have asked for better training.
Your flexibility inspired additional flexibility on her part to allow you to learn and be in that space.
And I was going to say, and having the courage, because I think that's probably one of the things that frustrates me the most with an assistant is when they don't have the courage to tell me that what they don't know. They're always like, well, yeah, I know that, I can do that. And I'm like, but now it looks crazy because I trusted you.
Yeah.
I think, what's so interesting about that too, it's like so many people are thirsty for the fame rather than thirsty to learn. Be hungry to learn opposed to hungry to be in the spotlight and to be famous. Yeah. Right. And so if you challenge and just channel that energy into like, I can learn, I can grow, then it all kinds of happens. I want to talk about some of the pivots that you all have made in demonstrating flexibility and the pivots that you made. You know, when you decided to leave the salon, Tippi, when you know, doing, you know, the creative work for Aveda, Larry, when you started the hat line, you know, AJ, when you started the collection, when you went from, you know, being behind the scenes in music. The same thing for you, Merrell, when you decided to go in-house to Wendy Williams and like have a day job. Let's talk about some of the pivots that you've made that have supported kind of like your growth in the industry.
Okay, I'll start. So I had a few pivots. The first one for me was becoming a salon owner to traveling as a full-time freelance hairstylist. And during that time, I was working with Rihanna exclusively, and she was fairly new, and she was going to start her world tour. And it was really like, do I want to be in a salon every day, or do I want to experience something different? And I always feel purpose. I can't even say I always try to live my life with intention. And so with that, my thought was I never really wanted to be a salon owner. I had to be a salon owner because I needed a place that would allow me to work on the schedule that I wanted to work. And the only way that worked was me owning my own salon. Well, now I have this other opportunity. I no longer want to do this. So I pivoted. I made that pivot. The next pivot was deciding, which was the hardest thing for me, deciding I didn't want to be full-time freelance anymore. Because by the time I'm a wife and I'm a mom, and I'm missing birthdays, I'm missing school events, I'm missing anniversaries, I'm missing the most important days of my family's life to share days with my clients. And to no fault of my clients, I love my clients. If they call me today, like some of my clients still call me and offer one-offs, and I'll do it if it works in the schedule. But I made a personal decision that I can't be there everything all the time anymore, because I haven't been my family everything all the time anymore. So I had to make that personal pivot for me.
Amen.
And so with that, I still love doing hair. I still love traveling. I still love, you know, the fancy glam and the stuff that isn't so glam. I still love all that. And so how can I still have that life and still do those things while still having, you know, the connection with my home life that I so desire as well? And so that pivot for me was education. So working for a major brand. First, it was with Aveda. I was the very first global artistic director for textured hair. That role didn't even exist prior to me joining. And with that, I was able to travel the world. But it wasn't like, hey, Tippi, this client is going to Europe tomorrow.
Right.
Can you go? And I don't know the rate yet. I'm like, how do you not know the rate? So it went from that to Tippi, we're doing a class in Europe. Give me 3 dates that work for you. Right. So that was the pivot. And that's where I'm at now. So I'm no longer with Aveda. As I mentioned before, I'm the global artistic director with Mazzani. And it's the same space. It's like, hey, Tippi, we're, you know, so obviously there's things that are mandatory because they're mandatory. But the majority of my work is, hey, Tippi, you're doing these things. Give me some dates that work for you.
Love
and that
it. And I also love to that point, it's seasonal, because when you start early in your career, there is a certain level of, you know, more flexibility that you have to have. But as you grow and as you evolve and you become more seasoned, then you can say no to certain things because it no longer suits you and works.
And not being afraid to, because I'll tell you, the very first time I had to tell an incredibly popular client who wasn't a regular client of mine. I worked with her for a couple of years. I don't even think I can talk about her, but super popular. You guys all love her. Not you guys, but everybody watching. Probably you guys too.
We love her too.
But the first time I had to tell her no, like it was hard, but it just didn't work for me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to do it, but it just like the rate wasn't there. It just, what I was going to be missing on my homestead, it just didn't make sense for me. So
Thank you for sharing, Tippi. Merrell?
For me, right when I was flexible, right when I made my shift, I think I was coming out of doing shows and the music industry and those things, and I started seeing the rates decline. And that's when God brought me the opportunity of a talk show, which I still was kind of like, do I want to do this? I'm really not about consistency. I don't like doing the same look every single day. You know, it's boring to me. It feels, in my opinion, it feels kind of like, you know, me doing, you know, TV for news, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that I will get bored really quick. But thank God I was blessed with a crazy client that I could do, you know, pretty much anything on. So that allowed me to have a home base with a steady paycheck every week instead of getting that 30, 60, 90, 20, sometimes 6 months, 9-month pay schedule. It allowed me to save. It allowed me to actually think about whether I wanted to work with this client or not. I got to pick and choose the jobs that I wanted to do while also still being creative director for Black Hopeful and still working with L'Oreal and still be able to develop products. You know, this job, you know, the job actually gave me flexibility to actually tailor and curate like what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be creative.
That's a powerful point, Merrell. Sometimes we think that flexibility means the unknown all the time, but sometimes stability can actually create the more flexibility for you in order to be able to say yes and no to certain things, right? Stability as a foundation for flexibility even.
And the stability also helped me because I'm a free spirit. I just, you know, I love to be free and do whatever.
Oh, we know.
I'm
thinking about all the times on set with you. I'm like, oh, we know.
So this gave me some sort of structure, which until just improved my lifestyle and improved, you know, my livelihood and, you know, the structure of my life. So, you know, that's one thing I love about having a full time.
We're grown now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
AJ and Larry.
For me, so I'm a Leo, so I'm literally a cat with 9 lives for sure. Because I feel like I've reinvented myself like so many different times. I came to LA as a makeup artist or new makeup artist. I got to New York and really started to build myself as like a premier makeup artist. There was a time being in New York, I was working with Fergie, and I was sitting in New York for 2 weeks waiting on a job to come up. And the only reason why I was there was because the ticket that we purchased was cheaper 14 days in advance. So I'm sitting in my friend's place, not having anything to do, wishing I could do hair or something else to supplement my income while I was waiting. And I thought, I'm going to create a product. What do I normally use? And that was lip gloss. So I started working on that. Then shoot to 2008 when things started to implode with the industry. Our girls that were paying us $3,500 and $4,000 a day, their labels are coming back and saying, "Hey, can you do this job for $500?" And I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute! Like, that's never going to happen. I have a lifestyle too, and I'm walking with my $3,500 boots next to me because we're hanging out." So like, I was like, "That's my rate right there." So I need to get out of this. And I think for me at that point, it just so happened that I had a friend who was coming up in the business and was asking questions about how to negotiate a rate. And I was like, "Hey, like, can I negotiate it for you?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I came back with a deal that was $17,500. And that was all based on things that I had, the way I had, my agent had always advocated for me, and including things that I always wanted my agent to do, I saw in that person. So I created a whole new business. So I was a manager and an agent for 6 years, unbeknownst to so many people in the industry. And that helped to fuel and fund and finance the beginning of AJ Crimson Beauty. So, you know, it's forecasting, seeing what doesn't work for you. I had a lifestyle that I was accustomed to living at that point, and I didn't want to let that go. And I needed to figure out another way fast if I had to rely on makeup. If I had to rely on makeup, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I think everyone's face was like, "Oh, AJ can represent us." Like
Yeah.
everyone's hand was like,
Oh,
"Oh, what are you
AJ?
doing later, AJ?"
Right. You know that AJ Crimson.
Where is the money? Where is the
Where is the money? Larry.
I'll do it 2 days a year.
Exactly. Larry, I'm just gonna open it up for. I think we probably will have time for one or two questions. Larry.
Okay, yeah. So I'll make it quick. You know, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'm a risk taker. Always have been. You know, jumped from being a dancer choreographer to living with Missy and thinking that I was going to be an A&R executive to, you know, jumping down this rabbit hole of being a hairstylist. I never thought that I would do TV. Did Being Mary Jane for 5 years. Didn't think that I would ever do film. Did Happily Ever After. You know, I always feel like people that are blessed with talent, even if it's not in alignment with your brand, as to, you know, people that see you in one thing, people never saw me as a hairstylist when I was dancing. People never saw me as a hat designer, as a hairstylist. People never probably saw me as a reality star person or a show person when I did the Bravo show. So I think that if you have talent and if God has put it on your heart and spirit to be blessed with the talent, if it's cooking, invent a line of cookware. Like, you know, just tap into all of the things that you're passionate about. And it just brings different streams of income to you. And it really feeds your spirit. And I think that's the thing that I love the most about all of the things that I am able to have my hand in. They really all feed my spirit.
Yeah.
I want to say something really quick. I love all of you equally. And the thing I love about you, Larry, is what you've done, which I feel also is like myself, like you, and even more so, really, like you create ways out of ways that just, like you said, people didn't expect. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You do the things that people aren't looking to us to do. You're saying, hey, why can't I have a hair product line? Or why can't I have a hat line? I wear hats all the time. It's a natural part of your fabric.
Yeah.
You're bringing all of those things to the table. And I think that's the biggest message that I take away from that is to never be afraid to lean on who you naturally are and allow all of those things to shine. Yes, we want to have focus in the things that we're doing. At the same time, don't let your gifts go to waste, and don't let your desires go to waste either. Because you're
1,000%. Thank you for that, AJ. Thank you. So true. Get it all in as much as you can.
and I love that too. And also don't be, you know, feel like you have to stay in one lane. Master the lane that you're in, and then create a new lane. But I say master the lane first, and then create lanes. Absolutely. Yanae, I think we have one question. So Dom Naomi says, how do you go about getting a mentor internship? She would love that.
For me, I literally, so I used to assist for agencies, and I reached all of the makeup agencies, and I had an idea of who I wanted to assist. So I knew that I wanted to assist Matthew Anderson. I knew that I wanted to assist Joanne Gare. I knew that I wanted to assist Torsten Witt, and those are the people that I targeted. And it took me a while to get on Matthew's team, and his agent told me it was really hard to get on his team, but literally the opportunity for America's Next Top Model had come up. I was the first person that they called. Who's like, hey, Matthew's been watching you. He wants to see you. He wants you to come to New York. Can you make that happen? And I had to fund my own trip to live in New York for 6 months. But and that picture you saw, Evil with the Spider, ended up being one of the most iconic photos from that season. And I never would have had that if I didn't know why I wanted to be on that team and be able to step up to the plate when I got there. So reach out to everyone.
Yeah. I think reach out to everyone, what you said, but also like have very serious intention and integrity about why you're reaching out to that person. And also, I think the other thing about understanding mentorship, you can't just ask someone to be your mentor. Right. That is about cultivating a relationship. Right. And so once you develop a relationship, you can say to that person, I want to learn from you. I see what you're doing. I mean, certainly always come in with specific kind of questions and not just like, tell me everything. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, no one's going to be able to tell you everything, but develop a relationship with them. And that's how you end up building a rapport to have a mentor.
You know what you can bring to the table. Like everybody, I get hit about mentorship all the time, and like people that want to assist, and it's like at this point I don't really need assistance, to be honest, because it's just me and the girl. But at the same time, it's like, why are you always just want to take, but you're not telling me what you're offering. What are you doing? Well, how are you going to make my life easier by having you next to me? Right.
Listen,
I'm giving you an education that you should be paying for, because you went to beauty school and you paid $20,000 or $30,000 to be there, but you're not willing to pay me $20,000 or $30,000 to give you everything that I need. that you cannot get in the book. You can't get it in the book. They're not gonna teach you that.
Listen, AJ is gonna manage all of us after this.
Yeah,
On that note,
AJ is everyone's manager.
I'm just like, that's the real deal. Like you do a makeup class, you put a makeup class up, you know, where I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you more. My makeup classes aren't even about makeup half the time. It's about how to advance yourself in the business. We're just calling it makeup because that's what you're into. And then but you don't want to pay the $150 or the $250 for the class from me that's been up and down in this business in so many capacities for 16 years, but you will get out there and pay $500 to the YouTube influencer who just learned how to do makeup on themselves or got the technique from someone, makeup friend that they love. Now I'm going to teach you the technique I learned in Rennie Vasquez's class last week. Like, what? Are you serious? Like, how do you have a class this week and you was just in that class? It doesn't work like that.
Derek
about to give you the running up in here. Stop now.
Listen, a whole Holy Ghost happening right now. A whole Holy Ghost shout. The other thing I will say, what's so interesting? Do people still go to cosmetology school and learn this? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so
You can't be in a salon and take up clients without a state issued license. So you have to go. You have to get your hours. Wait, what was that?
I was going to say, what's interesting about that is like there are a couple of our counterparts that have gone. Look, I don't get into Instagram battles, wars. That's not in my spirit. But there have been a couple of our counterparts that have gone toe to toe about. Both of them have celebrity clients. Who has a license? Who doesn't? It's gotten so convoluted with this hierarchy of what constitutes you to be the better artist. I mean, obviously I'm old school. I went to school for a year. I got my license.
Well, here's the thing.
Keep up with my joint. But to your point, to be like, a lot of people are trying to dodge that curve too. They don't want to go to
They don't want to, but everybody's not in the salon. And so, here's the thing. If you're creative, you're creative. You don't have to go to beauty school to know how to do hair. You have to go to beauty school if you want to work in a salon. And here's what else a license will get you, because if you're working on the celebrity, when I was working with celebrities, that's when these brands were coming at me left and right. But I'll tell you what, you need a license in order to be standing on getting major dollars talking on behalf of a brand. They're not going to take you just because you've got, the one celebrity client. You need to have the credibility behind it.
I will say one last thing too. There are some states, and I read it recently, that are thinking about like lifting off the umbrella of the cosmetology school requirement. So there's been a debate going on about that. I don't have all of the facts, but that's something
scary.
To look into. Yeah,
that's scary.
It is scary.
All right. Well, I wanted to come on and thank all of my favorite beauty panelists that came on and kicked off the art of a beautypreneur. I am like elated right now. I've been behind the scenes and watching and filtering through comments and just like getting excited. And I want to thank, I know some of you personally, Tai and I have connected. We know each other in real life. Merrell, same thing. Larry, I'm going to quickly share this. Larry, if y'all don't know, he was the very first person that I started with. Before I started with Johnny sent me to see if I was okay to work with him, and he sent me to Larry. If you remember that, he was like, Larry, see if she could hang as an assistant, and then if she can, then I'll bring her on. And so the importance, you guys dropped so many gems, and Tai, thank you. You took control of this conversation, and I think that so many people are benefiting from the gems that you dropped on us, new and old, doing everything in this industry. I want to thank y'all for dropping your knowledge and sharing your wealth of knowledge with everybody, and being pioneers and industry leaders who are holding our industry down, and talking about the importance of the things that young entrepreneurs and young beautypreneurs like myself need to always remember. So I want to thank you guys for being a part of the Art of Flexibility.
I'm so happy to see all of you guys. This was a treat to see all of you. Love you guys. Tippi, Merrell, AJ, Larry, love you guys. I'll see you guys soon.
We're gonna have to figure out a way to do this again, because like the comments. In real life.
With cocktails.
We already know.
Larry,
We already know.
To everybody that's watching, we are going to take a short break before our next panel, which is going to start at 12:15, which is the art of creation. So we'll just pause. We'll come back on live at 2:15 Eastern Standard Time and 11:15 Pacific Standard Time. Thank you so much again for tuning in. And I
following everybody.
Yeah, if you're not following me, follow me at AJ Crimson and go to ajcrimson.com and get your artist kit. If you don't have an artist kit, you are not a real makeup artist. And I can say that because this has been all over all the best movies in the business. So, and all the best
AJ for everyone's agent.
Right,
I'm not a makeup artist, but I don't have the makeup kit. But AJ, I got.
You have the artist kit single. She has the artist kit singles.
In that case, Brown Girl Jane, for all of your CBD wellness needs, we're launching a glow facial serum next week. So that will be around browngirljane.com. Use my code BrownGirlTai for 25% off. How about that?
I love that.
And everybody,
one last thing too. I have a really amazing partnership that we're about to announce, that we're about to drop. Product line, it's super huge. I'm really excited about it, super passionate about it, and super accessible and affordable for our brown and black sisters. So it's coming, y'all.
And one more thing. So,
no, I got one more thing.
Oh yeah, two more things. So if you go to Lavanya Beauty right now or lavanya.com and put in code Merrell20, you get 20% off. Some amazing skincare. We have an elixir serum and a high performing hydrator. So try it out, read over it, have glowing, beautiful skin like me.
I love it.
well, and we are going to spend, sorry, I'm going to very quickly cut you off, Tippi. We are going to email everybody all the things that they're talking about directly to your inbox so you have the details. If you didn't hear it, we will email it to you as long as you are registered. But go ahead, Tip.
Last thing, so I created a curly cutting curriculum for Mazzani called the Mazzani Air Cut. I also created curved shears that are specific to this cut. So you could go to the Texpert Collective on Instagram, the Texpert Collective, and you can get $20 off a pair of the curved shears. You type in hairbrained because I did a hairbrained live featuring. So actually, if you follow me on Facebook, you can watch the hairbrained live, and that $20 off curved shears is still applicable. And then just make sure you follow me because there's tons of new things coming along the path.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Oh,
Great. All these comments. Thank you guys.
See you guys soon.
Thank you. Thank you.